Hey everyone, I'm back again, and as always, am super grateful to have you guys tuning in for today's message. And again, oh my God, it feels like it's every single day that I say the same thing every single time, which is this is going to be an interesting one, right? And for me personally, it's super interesting. Why? Because I'm actually going through this right now. Like, I've just made a bit of a discovery and a connection point with something that's been really on top of my mind in particular for a while now. And I feel like I say that all the time as well. But basically, I'm going to talk it out with you guys. So bear with me. I've just been kind of blurting out some writing for myself on this, and I feel like it's a really, really important topic and something that I'm hugely passionate about. And I'm getting to know how much this topic that we're going to discuss today is so connected to what I want my life to be about, right? Like some of the vision that I have, right? So let's dive into it. So today, and good morning to you, Kathy and Joanne. I can see you guys joining, and Huss is in the house. So always good to see you guys. And today, Bill's here. Good to see you, Bill. So today, I want to talk about this very interesting topic, and you will definitely be able to relate. I want you to think about a power struggle you've had in a relationship. Now, this could definitely be in an intimate relationship. Been there. Could be in a parental relationship, very likely. It could be in a business relationship, friendship, whatever it is. But I want you to think about this honestly, about the power struggle, right? The holding back, the withdrawing, and then the moving forward, and then the dominance and all that sort of stuff, right? To get our power, be understood, be heard, all the stuff that goes along with it, right? We've all experienced it. And today I'm going to be very personal with a realization that I've just made, which is not comfortable for me, but also freeing simultaneously. So today's topic is external dominance is unnecessary for the one with internal authority. Okay, so I really want to dive into this because competition kills connection, right? It just does. Right? If we're in competition with somebody, what that means is we can't trust that other person, right? Because trust is built from our sense that that other person has our best interests at heart. And if you're in competition with someone, you're just trying to be better than them, right? You don't have their best interests at heart. You have your own, right? And so that's what is a major thing I see killing our relationships, and I've definitely been there in my own relationships as well, right? So I want to talk about this idea of having a power struggle, right? And if we look at that and we go, we want external dominance in our life. We want to be the one who wins, right? Why? Because we're trying to fulfill that void of not having that personal, strength within ourselves. That authority within ourselves. If we're missing internal authority, we end up being authoritarian with our external world, right? And what that does is, what does an authoritarian person need? Somebody who needs to dominate in order to get their power? Well, it's dependent on somebody being subordinate. They have to have somebody in their life who subordinates to their dominance so that they can go about continuing to chase that fleeting sense of power and continuing to chase and need some external source that will subordinate so that it can finally feel that it has actual power, right? We can get stuck in that until we make some inner revelations about how that pattern just certainly doesn't work. Here comes in my story, right? Okay, you guys know I always put myself out there and on the line in the hope that it actually can wake you up to make a realization and a discovery of truth in your own life. Because like I said, it might feel uncomfortable and a bit of a rude wake-up call when you finally acknowledge patterns that you've got at play. But like I said, simultaneously, that's where your freedom is. Like, if you want power and control, you got to awaken to the truth, right? And take responsibility for how you show up as an individual, right? So here's how I want to dive into it. So I want you to think about where in your life you've maybe sat on the fence? Have you been in relationships where you've been more subordinate, right? Oh, like just go with the flow and just, appease the person that you want to be in relationship with, or appease your parent or whoever that is? Have you been more so on that side? Or have you found yourself more so on the other side where you're like, no, I need to be always right. I need to be the one who sets the agenda. I want to be the one who's in control, right? Like I'm never subordinating. Like I'm in the dominance role, right? Like whatever side of the fence you feel you've more so lived in your life. And I want to share my journey and my story. So basically, I grew up with quite an authoritarian dad. I love him to death, and he's one of my favorite people in this world. So no problems there. But we've got to look at where we came from and the journey, right? Now, I'm an adult now. I have to take responsibility for my own life, right? So growing up with quote unquote an authoritarian dad who was very dominant, very, you could say masculine, very, very much that authoritarian figure, I just subordinated, right, to whatever the authority was because, there was a lot of respect there, but there was also a bit of fear there, all sorts of things, right? So that's the role that I took on. I just subordinated. And then this is the realization, guys, I've just made today, right? I make a lot of connection points in my own life. I've been on this growth journey for a long time, but recently I've had a couple of different people come into my life where there was just something that triggered me about them. And it came down to this kind of, I could see in them this authoritarian, this need for dominance, this need to be right, this need to maybe diminish others instead of just focus on like what it is that you're about and what you're inspired by and all these sorts of things, right? I just could see this pattern and it was triggering me. It was triggering something within me that I knew. I'm like, here we go, right? Like there's this new level of growth available to me right now. And I've been really going deep on this, like on this relationship with authority, and having Jeff Brown on the show the other day as well, like really something that he said, like just solidified. Yeah, it's absolutely what I need to focus on right now is what's my relationship with authority. And you guys who've been following me for a while, I've had some experiences in my life, particularly over the last 6 months, where I've had to deal with authoritarian leaders who, one of them tried to objectify me sexually and financially, right? And I had got a bit of a rude awakening with that, like I had to wake up from my own naivety. And also I had another sort of authoritarian person come into my life over the last couple of months and get to the point where they were actually threatening my life, right? So I had to look at this. And then I've just made the connection point this morning. I looked at my life again, right? With all these realizations that I'm making, all these connection points along the path, all these areas of acknowledgement and coming out of self-deception and coming into truth. And I realized I was a girl with an authoritarian dad who I subordinated to, who entered into relationships with men that I thought were the complete opposite to my dad, right? And not totally consciously, it was more subconsciously. I thought my relationship is just like the opposite to what, say, my mum and dad have, right? Like I'm picking or I'm having men that I'm in relationship with who are like the opposite to my dad. So I'm free of that relationship dynamic. Rude awakening alert. Unbeknownst to me, I was the authoritarian father in relationship, right? That's the pattern that I started playing out, my unhealed, unresolved, unacknowledged relationship with power and authority that started as a little girl, right? Like we all have our relationship with authority and power is born from whoever looked after us, right? Like our parents, our guardians, whoever it was, right? And I just realized I'd been getting in relationship with my mum, right? Like I was taking on the role of my dad and my partners were just like my mum. And particularly the last partner that I had, I would say to him so regularly, you're so much like my mum. Like my mum says that. My mum thinks that. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what is this, right? And I didn't make the connection point that I was still playing out my unresolved relationship with authority and power. And what I was doing was I was substituting my own internal authority for that authority with a partner, right? And this is such a rude awakening to me, because think about it this way, and we all do this. We think we're so unlike the people in our lives that we're like, I don't like how they did that. We're like, I'm never going to be like that. And then if we can get past the self-deception, which is brilliant in all of us, and we can have the courage to actually go and acknowledge, what is my part here? I'm the common denominator, right? What pattern is at play? And instead of having this like, well, they're totally different to my dad, so it's a totally different relationship. No. It doesn't matter that I'm a woman. I can still play the role of my father and be playing out that unresolved relationship with authority and power in my relationship dynamics, and completely blinded to it because I've so deceived myself into this way of being and how different this is. But it's been a rude awakening, right? And I wouldn't be able to get to this new realization, which is rude but empowering, right? Like insulting but totally empowering. And the reason why is because I've had different people come into my life who represent that. They're like this big mirror going, oh, you got some work to do around your relationship with authority and power, right? And so, okay, challenge accepted. Okay, I've had the message enough times right now. I have to take that on board. I have to take that responsibility. And I'm right in it right now. Like, you guys always get me right in it right now. Like, I'm sharing in real time my realizations and what's going on for me, in the hope that, we can be on this journey together, and that me sharing openly and vulnerably with you will allow you to get some own insights for yourself and notice maybe where you're deceiving yourself, and just know, I feel like I can reflect back. Like, reflection is a comedian, right? It's like this, it's just a comedian, right? And you can reflect back on your life. And I honestly was just chuckling with compassion for my past self, right? Compassion for that little girl, compassion for each of those pivotal moments in my life where I was in those long-term relationships, chuckling at my need to reestablish my own empowerment, right? And that's why maybe I'd selected quote unquote weaker men, or men who would subordinate and put me on a pedestal so that I could reestablish I can have power, right? But like, that pattern doesn't work forever. It's just been the journey I've needed to go on to build the other side of the extreme of the polarity. Like, from total subordination to dominance to I'm on the journey to bring balance. Everything is about bringing balance to your life, getting to yourself to a place of equilibrium, right? Because it's not about subordinating, and it's not about dominating. It's about having personal authority within. So you don't need it in any external sources, right? And you can reflect back and have compassion and know that you've set the perfect agenda for the lessons that you've needed to learn in order to bring yourself into equilibrium. But you just got to keep waking up to the journey that you're on. You've just got to keep waking up to each step that you take. Don't stay asleep, right? Most people stay asleep and they just carry on this need to either dominate or subordinate. But that's not where the fulfillment is, because what happens in our relationships, if we have that, the more we can dominate somebody, the less respect we have, right? The more we have to subordinate to somebody, the less safe we feel to be who we are. And what do we need in our relationships to go the depths of intimacy? We need respect and we need safety. It's absolutely a requirement on the pathway to reaching your highest potential in the vehicle of love. All right, so I'm, like I said, sharing openly right in the moment. I hope this resonates with you. And if you are in any sort of relationship where you feel like you lack a sense of safety and ability to trust because you don't feel like they have your best interests at heart, you feel like they're trying to take some power from you because they're not having that personal authority for themselves. Or if you're on the other side and you're like, I just don't respect them, right? Like I can always walk all over them. If you're on that side, just know, stop. You're still doing it, right? You're still feeling, you're getting a payoff of feeling power, but what it's costing you is love and depth and equality and real connection with the truth of who you are and who they are. We need respect and we need safety. And the only way we're going to have that in our relationship sustainably is if we go about doing the work and taking responsibility for our own personal authority, okay? Hope this message has served you and resonated with you. I definitely want to check in with you guys, see who's been able to join me. So please do drop me any comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Have you got any questions or words of wisdom that you want to share on this topic? I absolutely love getting to connect with you guys. So let me dive in. I have got Kathy and Hassani and Joanne and Bill's here as well, and Samuel. Always love your posts. I'm so grateful to hear that, Samuel. I always love you showing up and contributing to these conversations. Thanks so much. And Mahendra, good morning to you, my friend. And Julie's here, and Adini, good to have you here. And Samuel, spot on. I'm growing, trying to be more kind than right. Regardless if I was wronged, it's walking away with kindness rather than being right. I'm not a saint, but I'm trying to be better. Me either, right? We're not all saints and we're not all devils, right? We're both, right? We've got both sides within us. And, you know, it's so beautiful to be able to reflect back with that compassionate chuckle, right? On the patterns that you've had at play. You didn't know any better at those times, right? But now you're coming into a new level of awareness and you can look at all that's happened and go, I absolutely have needed those experiences. They were the required classes I've needed to graduate to a higher level of awareness. You know, and I can look back at all those different experiences and all those different stepping stones, right? And I can go, I am so grateful that I've experienced them. It was painful. It was a struggle. I was felt sad. I felt helpless at times. You know, I just didn't know how to make things better. All that stuff I had to go through to get to the point that I'm at today, to get to where I want to get to in my future, right? Like it's all on the way, not in the way, as we know. And I know now that it's all been for the purposes of readying myself to experience what I'm most inspired by that I haven't experienced yet, you know, the quality of relationship that I want. But I know it's possible, even though I have faith in its potentiality, but I know that I'm the one who will make that happen or not, right? We're not waiting for anybody outside of ourselves. It's all about our own relationship with personal authority, right? And taking responsibility, you know, and ending the suffering that we create so mindlessly in our relationships that, like I said, kill the safety, kill the respect, two of the prerequisites for depth of connection and intimacy that we all totally yearn for at the deepest level. So love your journey share here, Samuel. Thanks so much. And Joanne, oh my God, this is so common. I'm glad you can relate. And absolutely. And Samuel, I was a codependent, a knight in shining armor to save the world, opposite to the guys you mentioned, but it still isn't healthy. Well, yes. And you know what? That's just one of the patterns I played. But I also was the damsel in distress, princess, having my knight and waiting for my knight in shining armor to come save me, right? Like all these archetypal patterns that we can have at play, they're all, it makes us attract the people that we attract because we fit, but it's codependent until it becomes conscious and healthy, right? So I love that share as well, Samuel. Thanks for being here. And Joanne, oh yeah, that's a comment. And Samuel, oh my God, great words. Like, you are so right. I meet my parents as a love interest. It's crazy, right? It's funny and humorous and crazy, and it's all how it's supposed to be. What lessons have you not resolved? What unhealed wounds are going on that you keep playing out? Just know, come into the light, come into the truth, right? It doesn't feel that good, right? Like it feels horrible at the time when you're like, oh, it's on me, right? But simultaneous freedom is accessed in that moment of realization. So love it. And Jeff's here. Good to see you, Jeff. And Robert, hello to you. And Kathy, I had a huge argument with my mum, and then I treated her exactly the same way. Yep. Almost in retaliation. It was eye-opening. I didn't recognize myself and hated who it turned me into. Just know that it's not you, right? It's a pattern of behavior that you haven't brought into the light to address right now, and it's connected to your relationship with power and authority. So instead of feeling bad about ourselves when we catch ourselves in those moments, it's about going, all right, what do I need to apologize for from the heart, right? Right? That might be part of it to make you feel a bit better, but it's ultimately, this is exactly I'm ready for the lesson now that I haven't previously been ready for. So what is this pattern? Where did it come from? How can I take responsibility for it? Not blame and condemn myself, but grow from it. So there's so much juiciness in those realizations, Kathy, and so appreciate you sharing. And Bill, ideally, you only want people around you who love and appreciate you. The higher your self-love and level of awareness, the easier it is to end relationships that don't serve you. It's okay to put yourself first. Boom, drop the mic. I love it, Bill. And totally, I'm always saying that it's our relationship that we have with ourselves that sets the standard for the relationships that we have externally. So if I'm caught up in my subordinate nature, of course I'm going to attract somebody who's compatible with that, right? Who wants to dominate, right? Or vice versa. But it's like, okay, I'm going to use this example of what I'm attracting or what I'm experiencing to wake me up to what's unresolved, what work I need to do, and to ultimately, like Bill's saying, get to love, appreciate, respect, and honor yourself at higher levels so that you can do so for other people, and you just never settle for anything less. So I love that, Bill. Such good, wise words. And Jose, hi Vanessa, thank you for sharing this message. You're always so welcome, Jose. Thanks so much for showing up and being here. And Huss, hi V, thank you for sharing this. It's amazing what gets reflected back to us from others to help us see ourselves more clearly. Absolutely. I'm grateful for my past experiences too, as hard as they were to get through. This will definitely help me be more aware of my dominant subordinate patterns moving forward, and I'll be looking to keep that balance you speak of. Thank you, my friend Huss. That's so awesome. I love hearing that, and I really appreciate that you soak up whatever you can from these messages and you apply it to your life. That always touches my heart, and I can't wait to hear about what you kind of discover. That'll be amazing. So I got to run. I got an appointment right now. So I want to send you guys all of my love, and you know what I'm going to tell you what to do without telling you what to do, but just take it on board. Maybe, go out there and live authentically, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully. That's my message as always. Bill, you're so welcome. I'm signing off. I'm sending you guys all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Much love.